Hi everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Well, it seems like forever since we spent some time out here in the garden together, and I wanted to bring you along with me today to catch you up on some things I've been getting around to, see what's in the garden so far. Today is April 3rd and we've had some really crazy temperatures, 3 nights where it was 19 degrees. So a lot of my flowers are out in the garden and a lot of them are going out tomorrow. So we need to get some cool flowers hardened off. They've been hardening off for a really long time now. We need to harvest a few buckets of daffodils for some arrangements that I'm working on. I'm gonna sow some poppies because I had some poppy seeds come in late and I really need to get those in the garden. And then I guess we'll just see what else we get up to. Before we get started working, let me show you a few things that are blooming now and some views that I'm really enjoying and also really looking forward to this year. So I went really heavy on the bulbs last fall. So a lot of the bulbs are up above the ground, but they're not blooming yet. You can see that I have some hyacinths left over that I didn't sell. I also did install this pathway that I think I told you about in the January garden tour. So let's go in through this gate. I know we don't normally enter this way, but I'm really excited about the hydrangea room and how it's shaping up. There's not a ton of flowers over here yet, but I can really envision this spot being this beautiful enclosure where you just feel enveloped in hydrangeas and beautiful flowers for cutting. So in case you're new to my channel, what you're seeing over on the left is what I call Grace's garden. That's a completely shade garden with a whole bunch of hostas that aren't up yet. And that's where we have a lot of our fruit trees. Apple, cherry, pear in the distance, another apple here. So come on in, y'all. And I just really love the look of this. I don't think I had the beds dug all the way to the end of the arbors the last time you saw it. So this is basically what I'm thinking in terms of the bed shapes at this point. But I have some beautiful replete daffodils to show you here. And I have seeded in a lot of other things. I seeded in some larkspur around these replete daffodils so that hopefully by the time the foliage starts to die back, the larkspur rather will take over. But aren't these absolutely beautiful? And you know what, guys? Do you think these are replete or do you think they're Del Nisha? Let me get you another look. The first year I had them, I thought they were Del Nisha, but then I grew Del Nisha and I felt like that one was a little more peachy. And this does have some yellow tones to it, but I got all these on clearance for $1. I don't know, maybe it was 3 years ago, and they were just labeled double pink daffodils. So let me know what you think about that, and also let me know if you're growing any daffodils that you're really excited about this year. I'm not sure about you guys, but I'm really feeling like I want to start to invest more in daffodils and alliums, maybe even back off a little bit on the tulips. I'll have to see really how daffodils sell. I've gotten some private messages about, do I sell daffodils? I really only sell them to friends and family that reach out to me for them, which is what's happening today. But I don't normally open my flower stand until the tulips come on, which is usually about mid to late April. But I really am starting to think kind of more long term, and I'm really starting to invest in a lot more bulbs, perennial bulbs of course, that will really just help me out in terms of labor. You know, it's kind of a strange realization, but I'm only getting older and I think your time is really valuable. And if I invest in these perennial bulbs now, I think it'll make my job easier moving forward. And so that at least is where I'm planning to be headed with cut flowers in the years to come, is really to lean really heavily on perennial bulbs for cutting as much as I can at least. Let me show you a really pretty daffodil over here in Gracie's garden. It's called Cum Laude. Let me know if you think that's how this one is pronounced. But it's a split corona type. It's just starting to open, really beautiful. Might be one over here that's open more. Here's one that's a little more open. I really, really love this one. Isn't it beautiful? It almost looks like a beautiful spring sunset or a spring sunset on fire. Love that one. I have a little bit of snake's head fritillaria blooming here. And aren't these pieris just looking absolutely gorgeous? I'll definitely have to cut some of that and see what I can create. Let me show you what's going on in the raised beds. I did cover most of the raised beds when it did dip down to 19 degrees. I didn't bother to cover anything that had been fall planted, but anything that was spring planted did get covered, and I want to show you how that looks. What also happened is in between that week when we had 19 degrees 3 days in a row, we had really bad thunderstorms and even a bit of hail. So you will see some damage on my snapdragons. It's actually not from the cold, it's from that hailstorm. But there's nothing you can do about hail. You kind of just have to roll with it, right? But let me show you what things are looking like. Here's how the ranunculus are looking. And here we have a whole bed of tulips for cutting. So this will basically be the first crop that I'm going to sell right here. Also lots of tulips in the border as well. So here's the bachelor's buttons that were fall sewn. I'm pretty sure I sewed these in the video I did on cool flowers. And you can see they're starting to elongate. Sorry it's kind of noisy today, guys. Here's my first planting of snapdragons, and you can see it looks like I probably lost one right there in the center for some reason. Everyone else looks pretty good, and I haven't had them covered since that 19 degree 3 day in a row stretch. So nights when it will go down to only 29 or 32, they're just open like this to the elements. I'm also trying out some different spacing on my snapdragons just to see what really works best. I always did 9-inch spacing, but I wanted to try just some other options and see what I think here in a really wet climate. Fall sewn larkspur in the front. And here we have the bridal pink snaps. These are the ones that I took the cuttings from, and you can see they're starting to branch now. Now here's some hail damage right here on the legend light pink. You can see I've just kind of lost a leaf there, but I pinched these as well. So, you know, they'll be fine. It's always sad when hail comes through. This bed does not look like much, and I might make some changes here if I need more space, but this is where I have a bunch of poppies. You can see them starting to come up right there. Let me just uncover this bed of anemones real quick, then we can get to harvesting those daffodils. These are double daffodils, and I always like to pick these a little more open. And these are actually going to someone who has the opening of their play tonight. And so I'm gonna pick them even more open than normal. Normally I would pick the singles in gooseneck stage, like I have some here. This is how I would normally pick a single, but because this is going to an event tonight, I'm gonna pick them pretty open. And I do always like to wear gloves for this. I think that's good for this variety. Let me pick a couple Pueblo daffodils for her as well. I love Pueblo because they turn from this soft buttery yellow to an ivory as they age. So I'll just put these all inside for about 3 to 4 hours to condition. I am going to be using some exotic emperor tulips with these. They're just in bud and they'll kind of open up for her later in the vase. But I definitely want to go ahead and condition these so that those tulips will hold up well. And while we're waiting on that, we can go ahead and get these cool flowers outside to harden off. Like I said, they've been hardening off for 2 weeks now, so they're ready to go out in the ground. And I know I at least want to get the starflower planted today. So let's take this flat back to where it's going to live. Not sure too if I showed you how my grandma's garden is looking right now. Basically, I've been taking a lot of plants out of this garden because it used to be full shade and now it's full sun. So I still have some hostas that I need to move, but basically we have a clean slate over here to her chair. Over there, I want to put some poppies that she used to grow. And here I have the Rubra maxima fritillaria, and I put these here on purpose because she used to have a lot of these in her garden. I don't know, maybe we'll even see some of these bloom by the end of this week. That'll be really exciting. So I want to plant the Starflower in front of these two lilacs here that are flanking the entrance to Hummingbird Way. I only grew about, I think I grew 30 plants, so I'll just do 15 on each side. I think that'll bring in some really nice gray-green foliage here and also some nice texture when those flowers get their seed heads. So this garden is kind of interesting in terms of sun. It basically gets morning shade and really hot afternoon into evening sun because the sun rises behind me and then sets over there over my neighbor's wildflower meadow. So I did have some microphylla hydrangeas over here in the past, but they were actually burning. And so I moved them over into Gracie's garden. So I kind of have to look for plants that thrive in morning shade and really, really hot afternoon sun all of a sudden. That's what they experienced over in the driveway garden this year, the Starflower that is. So I'm hoping they'll do well over in this area as well. Also in this area is a downspout, and so this area is very heavily watered in addition to just the natural amount of rain that we get. So let's see how the Starflower can handle that. So I got the Starflower in the ground and all watered in. I have a little bit more time before I need to arrange the daffodils. So I think what I'll do is I'll plant out my Ammi Majus. You might recall that over the winter I lost my Ammi Majus that was in a raised bed. So I did start another half flat and they're ready to go in the ground now. So I'm gonna plant them in the border around some lilies that I have, and my hope is that the lilies will kind of be able to push up through them and it'll be a nice sharp contrast between that really strong and upright lily foliage and then the more feathery and airy texture of the Ammi Majus foliage and flower. So we'll see how that goes. All right, I got the Ammi in. I'll show you where it ended up. So I have the violas there on the side. Then I have the Siberian iris that I just divided and moved over here. And this area fills up with Montezuma lilies, and that's where I interplanted the Ammi Majus. And if you can see through my smoke bush there, I also put some Ammi on that side, just kind of to echo that texture on both sides of the border. Well guys, I think that brings me to the end of today's video. I'm gonna head off to pick up my daughter from school and then I'll deliver these to my girlfriend. I wanna wish you all a great day and a wonderful time out there in your gardens. Bye.